Welcome to Milesh and Sadie Property Talks, Smart Investments, Beautiful Spaces. Today on the podcast, we are going to be talking about the business side and then the property side. So business first, property second. But before we go into that, we're going to just do a quick recap of who we are and why we're here, basically. So Milesh?
So more detail on this in the first episode. So if you haven't listened, go back, please. Quick bit about me. So I got into property in 2001 and full-time since 2016. We've got a mixed portfolio of rental, stock, buy-to-lets, HMOs. Also more recently done developments, so planning gain, refurbs, land, that type of stuff. And even more recently set up the Property Edge, which is a monthly space for networking. And also under the Property Edge, there's a consulting element where I work with people on a one-to-one basis who either want to start their property journey or scale it and grow it. So
when I listen to what you say, it's a lot. I'm like, how does he fit it into his week? I'm exhausted.
So I set up the property. It's funny that I set up the Property Edge because I was going networking, going, what hat am I wearing today? Am I networking host? Am I one-to-one consulting? Am I developer? Am I investor? So then the Property Edge was supposed to try and bring that all under one.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which I think it's done.
No, I think it does. It does. This is very clear.
Because prior to this, I'd have been going still.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about me.
Yes, so sorry. I am Sadie and I am founder of Sadie Pizzey Interiors. We are an award-winning, I actually haven't said that before, but we are award-winning. Thank you so much. And we work with homeowners, we work with commercial clients, and we also work with property investors. We specialise in renovation and construction projects, and that's basically because I like dust and dirt. And we are joining forces because, Milesh, you come very much from the business side of property and I come from the design side of property. But the mashup of the two, I think, can create something incredible.
Yeah, they complement each other.
They 100% do. Yeah. So, Milesh, what are we chatting about today?
Business first, property second. So I rave about this to whoever will listen, really.
He really does.
If you look across our socials, and Sadie loves talking about it too. So I'm going to collar her for 20 minutes or so and do exactly that. So I'll start with what it means to me, and then we'll talk about design and how that fits into it.
Yeah.
So for me, business first, property second. I've seen loads and loads of people who just go in and start buying property, which is really, really cool. But is it aligning to exactly what they want? And whether you've got one property or 1,000 properties or 100 properties, it is a business. You have stuff that relates to a business, you know, your accountancy, your regulatory side, your finance side, you know, HR if you're working with people and recruiting people, or even if you're not. All of those are like common business attributes that have to be incorporated into a business. So like I said, if you've got one property or 10 properties, you are going into a business. So just having that business hat on at the start, I think pays dividends, particularly when you're looking at what it is you want out of it. So that's my sort of summary on it, and we'll dive a bit deeper into it in a minute. But from your perspective, so I talk about the business of property. What about the design of property?
Yeah, the design. I mean, I do still think that they are really linked, the business and the design of property. And I think it's very obvious when you're in the investment side of property. You know, if that is now a business that you're growing, obviously the business side is the thing you talk about the most. But it is still really important for your homeowner. If you are buying property, most people want to try and go up the property ladder. So you have to keep the business side of property really, really organised and at the core of what you're doing. And the design obviously massively impacts that. And I guess there's so many different ways, but one of the obvious things is that the renovation of the property and how you can add value to the property is essential. Lots of people look at it as we're going to extend the building or potentially even knock the building down and start again. But even that, the business side of that has got to be on point, because if you just go randomly, well, let's just plonk an extension on the side and that means we're going to be able to make more money. That actually doesn't work. It's got to be really thoroughly planned, thought out, and you've got to know your numbers right. And then from the design side, how you carve up that internal space can have huge impact.
Completely. And actually, arguably, I would say, when you're looking at the due diligence of a property deal that you might be wanting to offer on or whatever, ideally you want to be buying something where you can add value to. And how are you going to add value within the existing plot? If it's not another dwelling, you're going to be working with the existing property, whether you extend or not.
Yeah.
And guess what? You need to design it.
Yeah.
And guess what? Right at the outset, you need to have an understanding of what that cost is going to be, which is the business element.
Definitely.
So actually, I think it's critical to know what that design might look like and engaging with someone like yourself early doors to be as accurate as you can.
Yeah.
And everyone knows, or whoever watches me and has seen me before, I love due diligence. And it's all part of these due diligence steps that you have to do.
Yeah.
right at the start. Not to say you have to have it absolutely nailed down, because there's only so much of that you can do and people will charge you for their time and everything else. But just to get a high level, this is what I think I want it to look like. Give me some feedback on what that might cost me.
Yeah.
Needs to be done right at the start before you've even
totally
looked
agree.
or before you've even offered at the absolute latest.
Yeah.
And then the idea is that due diligence again, the idea is that you reduce that risk as you go through the process. So you might have been given a figure to start with, which enables you to offer. Okay, offer accept. Now I really need to go into another level and understand that cost and refine it. Is it lower? Is it higher? Whatever it is. So I think the design does play a big part, certainly in the due diligence side of things.
And we have it even with homeowners. Like we've just done one recently where a beautiful house, and it could be extended and refurbed in many different ways, but the owners wanted to know sort of cost implications and what that would mean in terms of its return when it does go back on the market. So we just did an early on sort of design pack, and then we put it out for tender to our favorite contractor, just so that we had those figures before any decision was made as to where we were going to go. So before we even actually brought on an architect, and before we then went into planning, we had already knew what the cost of the different options were going to be. And then they could look at the market value and go, okay, this gives us, does that work? And that's just for a homeowner, because even though they plan on staying it in 10 years, they want to know that if the worst happens and they sold it, they're still going to make money.
Yeah, and that's really prudent from a homeowner perspective to see, because I don't think many people do that.
No.
It's more heart over head rather than
the
right balance, which is difficult as well.
Yes.
So with that, if somebody was to come to you, if I was to come to you and say, look, I've got a deal that I'm keen on, it looks okay. Is that a service that you offer where you do like a conceptual kind of idea with some numbers around it as a one-off?
That's 100%. So what we do is we create some conceptual layouts and some conceptual ideas, and then we sort of package that into a basic scope of work for a contractor. And then we get our contractor to put together a tender for it. And again, you have to know that it's not complete exact figures, but we do go into enough detail to at least be getting fairly close. And then that allows you to have the knowledge to whether to move forward or not. And if it's, even if you've put an offer in, you might decide to do that then, because you want to know whether you've got enough money in the construction to do it.
Yeah. And actually it's that versus, certainly if it's your first one or two, it's that versus finger in the air. I reckon it'll be this, that and the other.
Yes.
You might go to offer. Don't forget you've built all these relationships or trying to build relationships with agents. If you do get offer accept and then you try and finite it, it means the deal might not work.
100%.
Or you're then committed to buy it. And the deal doesn't work.
And
then you've got potential relationship breakdowns, and all the stuff that goes with it. So it's really important to get it nailed, or at least get a ballpark or a tolerance level if you can at the outset.
I agree.
Which is a good business practice. And you should be doing that in anything you do.
100%. It goes down to, again, putting the investment side, isn't it? Because at this point, you might not even own the property. And you're going, am I actually going to spend this money to do this due diligence now? But then what's the cost if you don't? You could end up with a deal that doesn't hold it together. And then suddenly you are,
Exactly. And I think one of the other, I know we've talked about myths, but another thing is certainly with developments where you're looking at commercial to resi, or you're doing, a huge amount of work within a plot. Unfortunately, you're not going to get every single deal that you offer on. And so you need to build in that cost and tolerance of, okay, I know I'm going to need to spend £1,000 or £2,000 on every deal that is serious, where I've got pretty good commitment from the vendor that I'm going to get it. Some will go through and some won't. So you just need to be prepared for that. And it's not a bad thing if you do spend a couple of grand and you don't get the deal, because what's the alternative?
And also the learning, I think.
Yeah,
you start
yeah.
to really learn. You understand, you start to understand costs, you start to understand the process.
Yeah. I mean, be honest, we lost about over 10 grand on a commercial resi conversion project we were looking at. Something came out through legals, which meant the tenant was in situ and we didn't want them to be. And we'd put a planning application in at our cost. But because of this issue, it would have been far, far higher risk for us to take that project on than to walk away from it.
Yeah.
Am I bruised over that money? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But is
painful.
it the best outcome for that situation?
Yes,
it is.
Definitely.
So yeah, you've really got to factor that in.
And even if you have gone and you've leaped and you've made the purchase, you still need to do that cost analysis before you start any sort of construction. We've definitely had, again, clients come to us with plans to extend a building, and then they've kind of gone, oh, I don't really know how much that's going to cost. And when we've put together the full scope of work and we've got all those figures, they've gone, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was going to be that expensive. Can't afford to do that. And then again, if you've done it early on, you can pivot. We've then gone, okay, we'll scale back that extension. Luckily, we're going to plan this space like an incredible game of Tetris, and we're going to be able to create that wish list. But if you don't know those figures early on, you could end up halfway down, get to a kind of shell and go, oh my God, I've run out of money.
Yeah. Which is more, I guess, it's more likely if you're a homeowner.
Yes.
Or if you're quite new into the investment world.
I was going to say, there must still be developers who run into that though.
Yeah, I think so, sadly.
And because I think there's also, don't you think it's that kind of wishful thinking element where, although you've been given some figures, you'll think, oh, but I can probably do it for less.
Yeah, square peg round hole.
100%.
And it's that fight between heart versus head, or head versus heart, whichever way you want to do it.
Yeah.
If you're homeowner, then naturally heart takes over a little bit more, and then the finances are secondary. But from an investment perspective, it absolutely needs to be about the numbers and the structure of it and everything else, and the negotiation of the deal to make sure that it is serving you in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So we've covered quite a bit there, actually. So let's talk about real life examples, really.
Yeah.
So evidence of business first, property second. I've worked with people who I've challenged to really nail down why they want to do what they do, what it is they want from it. But my example was I wanted to get out of my job. And so it made no sense for me, and we did all the work up front. It made no sense for me to start buying properties to add value and then flip, because my interest was on a regular monthly income.
Oh, interesting.
And so we worked out not what we were earning, we worked out what we needed to live off every month. The two are different. And then we worked back from that and said, okay, what property type is it? How much income should everyone be generating? Even back to, because we'd had an area sorted, how much are we going to be buying them for? And going back even further, how much investment do I need to achieve my goal of monthly figure of whatever it was? And so all of a sudden you formulated a bit of a business plan, essentially, that says, okay, I need X amount of money to buy X number of properties of this type, of this refurb, that need this work on it. And then you've just got to execute.
Yeah. So you've been given all the figures, all the business side, and then you're like, well, now that's the constraints, and I've got to do it within these constraints.
And was it hard to get to that? Absolutely it was.
But it could have been so easy. And I think this comes from the designer point of view, because I absolutely love property. For me to get into it and go, oh, I just want to like buy Rex and do flip them and create something incredible without doing any of that. And that would be absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah. Yeah, and people do, unfortunately, people do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm coming across people who are, you know, a little bit older, and they realise that they don't quite have the pension pot that they wish they'd had, or the markets haven't performed in a way where they're going to get the pension they wanted. And then they move into capital strategies, so like flips or planning or commercial to resi conversions with a view to selling. Which is all good, because it gives you pots of cash that you could arguably put into a pension. But the minute it goes into pension, you're losing that little bit of control.
Yeah.
And it's opening up to the risks that you've opened up over the last 30, 40 years. Whereas actually, should you be looking at ways you can get income, and in doing so, you're buying stuff to refinance and hold on to and rent out.
Yeah.
So if you've got a shortfall on your pension, rather than putting lumps of cash in to try and increase that, why don't you just buy property to increase that and build a rental portfolio that goes alongside your pension?
Yeah.
Like, tons of information, apologies, but it's a relevant example to demonstrate why the business angle comes first.
100%.
Before you start looking at
when
properties.
you've done your research and you know your facts and your figures, it kind of forms a route for you clearer, though.
Completely, yeah. And I'm all about planning and due diligence.
We hadn't got that at all.
Yeah, just to reiterate. So from my perspective, that is a real life example of why, spending the time, and it's hard. It's not easy.
No, and it's
we
can
had
be
to
really
sit
dull.
down. The two of us had to sit down and go, right, what does life look like?
Yeah.
We've got our own gig now. What does life look like?
Yeah.
And the beauty of that is you can choose what that might mean, but it comes with the work to get to it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're employed, then you've got a regular income every month, which is fantastic, but you've got limitations in how that can grow.
Yeah.
And so, it's hard, but it pays dividends. It really, really does.
And even from the other side, so we always just flipped the homes that we lived in, and at that point I was in a different job, but we had a limitation on what we could earn really at that point. And so the only way we could move up was by being savvy on the houses that we bought, and then we flipped and we moved up. So
to build up the cash pot,
100% to go up and up and up.
Yeah.
So even though we are obviously talking a lot from the developer's point of view, if you just want to buy your homes, but you want to be able to get, bigger and better, essentially, the business side is still massively important, because you can, again, the heart can really pull in.
Yeah.
And of course it's your home, and you want to love what you do to it, and you want to love living there, but you still have to have done all of the business side, if you like, all of the work, all of the figures, to really understand the potential profit that you can make in that house, and the ceiling price of where you're going to end up. Because I have seen countless people just get carried away with sort of transforming property that was never going to be worth, the amount that they've spent on it. And then they're stilted. They can't carry on that property journey.
Yeah. And I think that's fine if they're walking into that and knowing that.
Yes.
Whereas if the idea is that you want to be able to move on and sell it and make enough money to do the next thing, then that's not so good.
No, and it switches 100%. I mean, certainly on the properties that we own now, it's kind of our forever home, although I don't think that actually exists. But you are less sort of all about the facts and figures, because we know we're going to be in this house for 20 years. So therefore we know that we've got a long time for it to just grow in value. And you do a bit more sort of emotional decision making.
There are downsides.
Okay,
right?
yeah, go on.
And so, being completely honest, where you're like, for us, it was all about it was weighted far too much on the business angle.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to our own house, I'll be honest, I'm too much about the numbers than I am that, actually we need to live here.
Oh, really?
And we need to enjoy it. And it's taken a shift in mindset to allow ourselves to spend money on the house because it's something we want to do, rather than, is it going to add us value?
100%.
Right, and it's really difficult. It's a massive learning.
Yeah.
So one of the things at the moment, do we put a garden room in that's got an office and everything else? Well, I know it ain't going to add value to my house.
So you don't want to do it.
I just know it.
But it could add value to your life.
Yeah. And so getting that, I guess it's the reverse of head and heart that I keep banging on about.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit of a downside. So you just got to be wary of that as well. If you're fully in investment space,
yes.
When it comes to your own house, it's separate. You never know. I might be the only one in the world who thinks that way.
No, I think you're right. And because I think even when we work with clients, sometimes we will have, if we're working with a couple, sometimes one half of the couple is very much, they come from a business background. Everything has got to make sense on spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And then we have maybe the opposite side where it's, who cares what this is going to cost? It's, I need to love it, and it's our house, and we want to be here forever and ever. And so there's a balancing act, I think, because we obviously want to make sure both clients are happy, but also because it is important that what we design is going to make sense in terms of money and investment. Yeah. But when you've got, someone great like us working on it, we will be weighing up the getting what you want so that home really speaks to you and sort of enriches your life, with the investment and protecting it and making sure that we're not going to just spend ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, I think certainly in your role, it's really to present your clients with those facts.
Yes.
And then ultimately it's their choice,
it's their choice, 100%.
But in the absence of those facts, they could end up in a position where they don't want to be in.
No.
So for you, I suppose it's about making sure that they understand that if you go and spend 30 grand on this element of the house, you ain't going to see it back.
No.
Which is fine, but you need to just let them know that.
You just have to understand it and be happy with that. And the thing is, there is such value in loving your home. Your surroundings, how they impact you on a day-to-day basis is invaluable. And that isn't just like how you feel in the space, but also practically, how we sort of design spaces and the implementations that we put in can really, really make people's lives so much more efficient and enjoyable. And so that has got a value in itself.
Yeah. Priceless.
Exactly.
It's just about having the balance.
Yeah.
So I think business first, property second is something I wish the whole world knew and understood, right?
Yeah.
As long as you've got the plan. You have to have the plan. And that's probably the overarching takeaway from this episode, I think. So thank you for sharing.
So welcome.
It was good to see how the business element and the design element molds together. I think it's proved that it really does.
And I think also maybe that's another little myth that lots of people do think. I think designers are just there to come in and like spend loads of money and just put in massively expensive stuff.
And cushion fluff.
And the cushion fluffing, I don't know if I've mentioned it. But actually, we certainly aren't, because we want to make sure that we're protecting, the value in your property. So when you get the two things right, then, it's incredible. And that's why you should do both, I think.
Yeah. Cool. That brings us to the end. I think we've done well there.
We've
covered loads
and
loads. So thanks for joining.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.